Alrighty. Still getting some people coming in, but that's okay. I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Raise your hand if you're here because I pointed at you and you're coming to my panel, right? Wow, I just wasted an hour. Raise your hand if you're only here because I gave you $20 to come to my panel. 1, 2, 3. Wow, I just wasted $500. I'm all out. I gave it up to other people that aren't here. They're going and getting Jimmy John's on my dime. What can I say about that? Welcome to promoting. Wow. The title of my panel has changed. Promoting a Perfect Pony Podcast, a panel, or also known as Perfecting, Promoting, and Producing a Pony Podcast, a panel. Also known as the reason why I'm here and the reason why you all are exceptionally bored. Okay. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Pony Toast. I am the host of True Equestria Radio. I'm the owner and operator of Audio Toast Broadcast Media Company, which is my production company. I am one of the longest-running one of the longest-running pony podcasts in the fandom. I actually talked with Dusty Cat yesterday about this because we weren't sure which of us aired first. As far as continuously, his and mine are really relatively close. We'd have to look at the dates. I have more episodes than him, but he at one point was doing 2 weeks. But anyway, I'm definitely one of the longest running and one of the earliest being Bronyville, and then some of the ones being me and Stay Brony, my friends, and all those. But podcasts, that's me. I'm really happy about it. How many of you have heard of True Equestria Radio? Just as a show of hands. That's so cool. You have no idea how cool that is. The question that I have for you, though, is what is a podcast? Raise your hand if you know what a podcast is. That's cool, too. Oh, fantastico. For those of you who don't know what a podcast is, it was coined in the mid-2000s here. It is actually a portmanteau of iPod and broadcast. It's some kind of a broadcast that you could listen to on your iPod, whether it was a video podcast or it was an audio podcast. And we'll talk about format a little bit later on as part of this, which is totally cool. We're going to go through all this stuff. Also, I'm really excited, so if I ramble on, please forgive me. Podcast. A podcast, as defined by Wikipedia, is a digital medium consisting of an episodic series of audio, video, PDF, EPUB files. This is the Wikipedia definition, which means it is very boring. But I'm going to talk to you about what a podcast actually is in a lot more of a fun tone so that you can really enjoy it. I'm going to jump around and scream and do silly voices and all kinds of other stuff so that you all are entertained. If you're not entertained, too bad. I was supposed to have a bag of marshmallows that I was going to be tossing out in the middle of this, but I completely forgot. My God. Okay. So you want to do a podcast. We're going to start this from the beginning. Let's say that you want to do a podcast. We are going to create a podcast here. That is me and all of you here. All of you that stick around through this entire thing, who I pity. So we're going to come up with a podcast. We decide we're going to make a pony podcast of some sort, right? Okay. So what's the first thing that you need for a podcast? Well, usually you need a name for a podcast. So what's the name of our podcast?
Well, we actually own our own podcast.
Well, okay, you own your own podcast. I want to go over this direction then. Okay, that's cool. How about you? You wanted $20. What's the name of our podcast?
Crabapple.
Crabapple. All right, cool. Crabapple. We're going to add to that. It's Crabapple what?
Crabapple tree.
Crabapple tree. All right, we're getting there. Crabapple tree.
Stable.
Crabapple Tree Stable is the name of our podcast, everybody. Crabapple Tree Stable. We're going to be making the Crabapple Tree Stable podcast, and I'm going to try and get up on this stage as my fat butt will let me. Oh, God. Ugh. So, the first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a studio. This is my studio right here. You can see that I've got my 2-screen monitor with a Star Wars ponies on it and everything. I got my lamp. I got my cot that I sleep on. God, that's sad. I'm a sad, sad man. That is my studio. I've got a recording studio on the side with padded walls. I got a place where I can record. I actually do my podcast in front of my computer rather than in my recording studio. I do voice acting as well, so I have a home studio there that I use there. That's a totally different panel that I'm not doing on voice acting, but that's what I do. You will need a website. This is what I have. I use Blog Talk Radio. A lot of people ask me about what to do with their podcast, how to start theirs. I have made a lot of mistakes in my time doing a podcast, just a ton. And so I try and save people from my failings. And they say to me, should I use Blog Talk Radio for my podcast? The correct answer to that is no. If you are starting a podcast and you are new to it entirely, don't use Blog Talk Radio. For one, it costs $40 a month if you want to do a 2-hour show. For two, it costs $99 a month if you want to do a 3-hour show. So if you have a podcast, you got to wait until you are like sufficiently set up before you can do this. You've got to make sure that you have enough of a listener base that they can help fund you, unless you're willing to pay for it out of pocket. Which, if you are, cool. I did. It worked. It kind of works when it works, but you also end up with a little bit of problems. Hey guys, what's up? I got all the MLP folks coming in the back there. That's cool. But it comes with its own setup. You know, your own phone caller list. You got everything. It is all set up for you. But if you are just starting out and you want to start the Crabapple Tree Stable podcast, which is what we are doing right now, we're going to put it onto SoundCloud. I don't know if you guys know this, but SoundCloud is entirely free audio. You can put as much stuff as you want up on there. There's a limit on it, but most professional podcasts these days actually use the SoundCloud system. Rob Paulson is a very famous voice actor who some of you may recognize the name. He does his podcast on SoundCloud. Anybody here browse cracked.com? A couple of you, cool. They are a very popular podcast, and they do their entire thing on SoundCloud. You can embed it, you can download it, you can whatever with it, and the extra features that it has are relatively cheap compared to other different things. I would definitely suggest doing that on SoundCloud, because that is just, it's really the best place to put it. All you got to do is record it with whatever kind of thing, Audacity or Audition or whatever, and then you upload it to SoundCloud, and you're done. Anybody hear music just like randomly? Coming from over there. Gosh, these random music people. Oh my gosh. So, how do you write for a podcast? And you might be saying to yourself, a podcast? No, this is super easy. I'm just going to get all my friends, we're going to get into a Skype chat, and we're going to be like, we're going to do stuff in a Skype chat, and we're going to record it, and we're going to put it online. Everybody's going to think it's really funny. We're going to talk about stuff, and it's going to be great. You can do that. But if you're wanting to be successful with it, you do have to write for it. You don't have to write a lot for it. In fact, every single show that I've done has been almost entirely improvised. But being improvised does not mean that you don't have a plan. So, for example, this panel that I'm doing for you right now, which is very, very funny and is full of exceptionally funny jokes, they're very funny jokes, right? You're laughing. That's good. That's good. But they're very, I had a plan. I came up with an outline of how I'm going to do it. I made a PowerPoint presentation. I studied my little thing here. I did it at TrotCon. I improved on it from TrotCon. It works the same way with a podcast. You've got to write for it. And you have to have a theme. Now, some of you, just out of curiosity, how many of you have heard of HorseCon 2014? HorseCon in Detroit. That's right, this con that's going to be in just a terrible place in Detroit, despite the fact that this con had a guest list that was actually Wikipedia's copied list of famous racehorses. And Sophisto was added. You had general admission tickets at $635. And some kind of a really weird policy that you can't bring in alcohol below 40% alcohol by volume. This was a big April Fool's joke that I put together, and it was hilarious. I got followed by every major convention, including BronyCon, on Twitter. It was great. Oh, my God. Actually, on April Fool's Day, I post up a picture of myself, like one of my professional photos with me with my shirt kind of open, and it says, scrolled across it, with love, Pony Toast, XOXOXO. I post it. I hit publish. It refreshes on my page, and immediately I get a Skype message from, like, one of the people from Nightmare Nights Dallas, and they're like, oh, hells no. But anyway, the whole big problem with this was that it had no cohesive theme. If you look at this, the only thing about this site that makes it look even slightly pony-related is the picture of ponies that's there. Everything else here was a theme about music. This is a basic Wix.com music festival thing. How many of you have seen on your Facebook or whatever Wix ads for you to make your own site? Some of you? Wix is a site building site. You can create a site, you can drag and drop and all kinds of stuff, change colors, but Wix is so terrible. For one, every single site you make has this site was made using Wix on the bottom, which is just awful. Also, they have no cohesive themes. They don't run very well in any browsers. They're generally terrible. So don't use Wix for anything unless you're just trying to be funny like me, because I'm funny, right? Yeah, that's good. This is good. This panel is going very well so far. I paid you all very well. So you have to write for your podcast, and you have to come up with what you're going to be doing. The best way to do this is to make a primer of what you're going to do. And I'm going to talk about primers when we talk about guests and how to get them. So you should stick around for that. Please don't leave. How do you do a podcast? You got a couple different types. You got live podcasts. You got recorded podcasts. A good example of a recorded podcast is Bronyville, which they do their interviews with their guests and they record it, and that's where I got my primer idea. I'll talk about primers a little bit. And everything is recorded, and then you can edit it out later. The advantage to a recorded podcast is, let's say that I have a guest. We're going to have a guest here on Crabapple Stable, and we're going to have this fantastic guest. That guest is going to be... Who's the guest? Tabitha St. Germain. Who else is going to be a guest? Doesn't even have to be Pony Fandom. Why not? Morgan Freeman. Okay, so we have Tabitha St. Germain and Morgan Freeman are our guests right here. And Morgan Freeman's going on about his thing in his cool Morgan Freeman voice that I can't even try and imitate. And he goes on this thing, and for some reason, Morgan Freeman says something that he doesn't want to say. He decides that he's going to admit that he's a brony. Oh my gosh. And then he comes back later and he goes, oh man, Toast, I don't want to admit that. I'm kidding. Everyone wants to admit that they're a brony. But Morgan Freeman says he says something he doesn't want to say, so we can edit it out before we publish it. So the regular population doesn't even hear it. They don't even know that it was said. This is really good if you're trying to get a guest that is very afraid that they will let slip something that they're contractually obligated to not say. This is a really good way to do it because they feel more comfortable that things can be edited out later. Now, the disadvantage to a recorded podcast is you don't get as much interaction with the people that are listening to your show. Sometimes you can get people that are asking questions in IRC or whatever, but they won't see the responses until it gets published later after it's already edited out. So a lot of the time you're going to hear recorded podcasts. Most podcasts are recorded. However, here at Crabapple Stable, we're going to try and be really, really tough. We're going to do the hard things, and we're going to make it live because we're live, local, late-breaking, like WBAL 11 Baltimore. And wait, no, that's not live, local. Anyway. So we're going to do a live podcast. The advantage of a live podcast is very simply this. That guy right there, what's your name? John? John gets to call into the show. John gets to call into the show at 714-888-7471. Which, by the way, is the call-in number for my show on Saturday nights, if you guys had a chance to copy that down. He's going to call in at our toll-free number, 1-800-PONY-PODCAST, and he is going to actually talk to us on the air. This is really cool. We can have people in a caller queue. We can have them sorted out. Now, of course, there is a very big disadvantage to this. If John decides that he's going to come on here and say something really mean, like, hey, Toast, I'm going to sign you up for the Montgomery Ward mailing list. Or, hey, Toast, Justin Bieber is awesome. That kind of stuff that we don't want our listeners to hear. Then we can't cut it out. So we have to be very careful. We got to have our hand on the hang up button. And if anybody decides to say something absolutely terrible on air, we have to get them off the air. With Blog Talk Radio, for example, Blog Talk Radio being a live session, there are very specific rules about dealing with people and trying to get them off of the air. So, how do you deal with it? Well, what is a... I don't know, somebody just did something weird at the door, and I got distracted. But you can't edit it out right then and there. Sometimes you can go back and edit it later. Sometimes you can't, but the risk is there. But it's a cool trade-off to be able to talk to somebody like straight on the air. So then you've got guests, right? Let me see how I'm doing for time. I might be like way going too fast. Oh man, I'm going way too fast. Okay, so guests, also known as how to get M.A. Larson on your show. I love just doing that because he's been on my show a whole lot. My first guest was Lee Tokar. My first VIP guest was Lee Tokar. I've had M.A. Larson. I've had, who else did I have? I had Josh Haber. I didn't have Josh Haber. I had, oh man, what is his name now? It's on the tip of my mind. The guy that did Castlemania. Anyway, it's gonna bug me now. I'm so caught up. But anyway, I've had writers, I've had artists, I've had voice actors on my show, and a lot of people ask me, well, how do you do that? How do you network with these people? Do you just go and ask them? And the answer to that is no. I can't tell you how often that I see this, and I don't want to make you guys feel bad if any of you have done this, but I see people do this here. I need a volunteer here. Who's gonna be a celebrity? This person gonna be a celebrity. What's your name? Nortez, okay. So Nortez is a celebrity. He's been working for every single large voice acting community ever. He is 30, 35 years experience of voice acting, and I come up and I'm like, hey, Nortez, I have this radio show. It'd be really cool if you could come on it. I know that you're super busy with all your radio show stuff, with all your voice acting stuff, but it'd be really cool if you could come on my show. Why are you backing up? What's going on with this? And they come and do this, and they do this. Now, there's really two kinds of guests. You've got your professional guests, like the people that they make a living doing it. They have agents. They have all kinds of stuff. Then you have your fandom guests, and they're whatever kind of thing. Maybe they're an artist or a friend of yours, somebody that you can more easily approach. Sometimes the line blurs there. We have like fandom guests and stuff that also they have agents. Either way, you have to be aware of them. You have to be aware of what they consider to be the way to contact them. In most cases, it's an agent. That's what they have them for. Agents are there so that they can book things for the person. That's what they're hired for. So a lot of the time, it's getting in contact with the right person. You network with people. You find out who it is. And you have to start at the bottom. Since we're just starting Crabapple Stable here, I'm going to tell you, we're not going to be getting M.A. Larson for our first guest, more than likely. Instead, the way that you set it up is that you give yourself a good reputation. You get yourself a fandom guest. We're going to have a fandom guest here. What's your name? Yeah. T-Bone 2004. T-Bone 2004 is going to be our first fandom guest. He comes on, we have a good time, we're professional with him, and we treat him the same way that we would be treating a VIP guest that we get on our show. We put it into our portfolio, and we build a show, we build a reputation. You have to treat yourself well. You have to not do things that your VIP guest would find objectionable. That kind of stuff is very important. They carry their reputations very, very, very high. If they mess that up, they're in deep trouble. So you have to be aware of that. You have to know that your guests are going to be treated well, and they have to know they're going to be treated well. And you have to do one of these. Now, I mentioned primers before because it's a really good way to keep track of your show. Now, the way primers work in the very professional world is you have a couple versions of them. This right here is the show book for an NBC show. I got this at work. Don't tell anybody. But you get what's called a guest confirmation or a primer. And it looks like this. And what this is if you look at this, it says, guest, Mr. John Doe, phone, blah, 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 contact, blah, blah, blah. When? Sunday, 1/3/2010. And then there's a whole list of when you're appearing on blah, 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 law call on this NBC show. And it has exactly what it is, what the show is, all the inside jokes and all this different stuff. So I'm going to go over here and show you my primer over here. This is one for my show. I mentioned that I'm the owner and operator of Audio Toaster Broadcast Media, so I got my logo on it. This is usually held in a Google document. I've got the name of the episode, which in this one was, this is the one where I had Pat a Rep on my show, which was really fun. So it was called, I'm not going to read that out because it's a family show. No, it's TER 95. I want because it's about Rainbow Dash Presents. So I got the time, I got the guest, Flim Flam Philosophy, host, Pony Toast, Super Camera Guru, Ernest, Capper General. I got the notes for the guest, this is a list of all of the inside jokes in my show so that the guest is not thrown off when I have random sea ponies show up. You know, stuff like sea ponies come in and it makes Toast mad and he goes "Arr!" and throws things. And Rainbow Dash is best pony, and never call Rainbow Dash a sea pony because it makes Toast mad, because my show is really crazy. And then I've got over here on the second page, I have a schedule of exactly what's going to happen. It's broken down by the minute. And then I've got links to the social media here if the guest wants to follow. It's very simple. It's very professional. I send this along with a letter saying, hello, my name is Sam Swicegood. I own Audio Toaster Broadcast Media. It would be really awesome if you could be on the show. Now, when people are trying to contact guests of any sort, whether it's fandom guests or VIP guests or their favorite author or whatever, this isn't just pony shows. This is anybody that's trying to start a podcast. The thing you have to keep in mind is this. Yes, you want to have that person on your show, but you're talking to a person who is busy, they have a life, they make a living doing things. So there has to be some kind of a reason why they're going to come on your show. And I want you to feel like you're not a special snowflake guy. But if you offer them an opportunity to do something, contact people, to reach people, you're much more likely to get somebody that you like on your show. So here we are. We've got Crabapple Stable. We've had T-Bone on our show. We've had a couple people in the back on our show. We've got the guy back there dressed as Star Swirl the Bearded, has been on my show like 5 times, and he's just tired of it, so he's leaving. We've got that guy that's waving right there. He's been on the show. And then we've decided to go, and we got our, I'm going to go ahead and send this guy a thing and contact his agent, because I did my research. I looked online. I found out who his agent was, or that kind of thing, and I sent him a letter. You leave it alone. You don't do anything weird with it, but you send him a letter. So his agent, who's going to be his agent? Somebody raise your hand. Okay, this guy's going to be his agent. So I send his agent. His agent goes, yeah, this guy's got this show. They look at the thing. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have time. But eventually they go, okay, Crabapple Stable, we're going to have this guy on the show. What's your name again? I forgot. Nortez. Nortez is going to be on the show, and we're really excited, and we have him on the show. Having him on the show, all right, you're still professional. You're still got the reputation that you've built up. You still got people that look up to you. You're presenting this in a way that is making the guest feel comfortable. And by this time, they should know your show inside and out. If you present a show to them that is different than what you have described, it's going to be a very big problem, because they're going to come back and they're going to be like, you didn't put me in a position that I really enjoyed. It's very difficult to do. I'm going to be honest with you. Getting guests on a show is really difficult to do. It takes having an empathy for their situation and putting them first. Your guests, if they're on your show, they come first. So that's how you get guests. You've got some guests on your show. You've got, right now we're at the point where we've had T-Bone and we've had Star Swirl the Bearded guy on a couple of times. We need to promote the show. Having good promotion, having a good online social media presence is very important to getting you guests on your show. If you're a guy that's got like 5 Twitter followers and your personal Facebook and you don't really talk to anybody, when you go to pitch a show to anybody, whether they're fandom, VIP, whatever, pitch a show to somebody, they're not going to take you seriously. You've got to be a marketing guy. Now, I know what you're thinking, marketing. Oh, God, marketing is a really boring job. Marketing is what the one guy from that one show did, right? He's just a marketing guy, and it's like, marketing can be very fun, and usually it just involves talking to people. One thing that you need is a Twitter. How many people here have a Twitter? Most of you. Awesome. If you don't and you're wanting to do a radio show, you should get one. This one here is mine. This is at PonyToast. At PonyToast. I'm going to slowly walk back to my computer if you guys want to look down at your phone and follow me on Twitter. 300 more followers already. Fantastico. But anyway, you need a Twitter. This is my Twitter. It's got my OC on it. It's got one of my logos on it, and I'm going to go over that a little bit too with consistency later on, the mistakes that I've made that you don't want to make. And you got stuff. This one right here, I took this picture before I did this panel at TrotCon. It was 45 minutes of my podcast panel in Main Hall at TrotCon. I really should have tweeted that I have my panel right now. Dang. Man, I should do that. Totally. Hey, can you do me a favor? Come up here, Sam. You do me a favor. Just do me a favor and just tweet Pony Toast's panel going on in the Star Room at BronyCon. I appreciate that. Watch, she's gonna like post something about Sea Pony Rainbow Dash. It's gonna be really terrible. So you have a Twitter. You need to diversify yourself more than just Twitter. Twitter is a very big one because it's very small. Oh God, she's writing terrible things about me on my phone. She is. I can see it. But you got to have a Twitter, Facebook. You got a SoundCloud because that's where we're hosting it, right? You got a DeviantArt. You got. We'll talk about Fanbelt in a little bit. We got MySpace. Nobody has a MySpace, right? Got a live journal if you really wanted to do this stuff. You talk to your grandma. You're like, Grandma, I got a radio show. You should listen to it. You got business cards. Business cards are cool. You can get them relatively cheaply. This is mine. Mine says Zam Swice, good voiceover artist. It's really cool. And you pass out your business cards to people. You network with people. You market. You are taking way too long on that tweet. I am really scared right now. What is going on with this? Oh no, I gotta get down here. Give me my phone back. Pony Toast and the Star. Look at that. She actually did what I asked her to do. Thank you. What's your name? Silver Cobra. Thanks, Silver Cobra. She actually did what I asked her to do. That's so awesome. I was afraid I'd get this back and it'd be like, hi guys, I'm pregnant. Oh, you got Facebook hacked. So anyway, you got this business card. Wrap invitations around bricks and throw them through neighbors' windows. Yeah, don't do that last one. That's what it says at the bottom. But when it comes down to it, you got to be able to talk to people. If you're not really comfortable talking to people, it can be very difficult to market directly. You got to be able to walk straight up to people and be like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, my name is Pony Toast. I run a radio show. Hey, how's it going? You should totally be on my show. It'd be so awesome. What's going on?" You've got to be able to just talk to random people. Oh yeah, I should be on your show. Totally. You've got to be able to just talk to people. You've got to be able to tell people what your show is. A couple of you, earlier I was mentioning that I was trying to get people come to my panel here. It's the same thing. Be like, hey, I got a panel. It's in the Star Room. It's at 3 p.m. If you're ever interested in podcasting, broadcasting, marketing, you ever want to run a radio show, you should totally show up. You need an elevator pitch. Any of you ever heard of an elevator pitch before? Those of you who haven't, how many of you have ever played Kingdom Hearts? There we go. Fun story here. Kingdom Hearts was started when one of the executives for Disney walked into an elevator in their Japan offices and found out that Squaresoft had offices in the same office building. And basically it went, hey, you know what would be interesting if we had, a game, like a Final Fantasy game with Disney characters? And the guy goes, that's kind of a cool idea. Elevator pitches work like that. It is the very small, you can say it in 10 seconds pitch. When I talk to people about my radio show, it is, hey, I got a radio show about fandoms. People can call in, talk to people all around the world. It's really fun. That's really my easy way to do it. Having an elevator pitch is important. You got to be able to talk to people. You got this thing called Fanbuilt, and I'm not going to talk too much on Fanbuilt because I don't want to take a lot of time. Fanbuilt.com was started by Lee Tokar. He's the guy that played Stephen Magnet. Oh, it's so true. The sea serpent in the first episode. Yeah, you know which guy I'm talking about. And he started a thing called Fanbuilt. It's an online studio. You go there, you sign up. You're like, hi, I'm a writer. Or you go, hi, I'm an animator. And you hook up with people to try and get projects done. If you get a chance, check it out, sign up for it. That's my plug for Lee Tokar right there. And you don't give up. You absolutely do not give up. Now, but before I get into this, because this is where I'm going to get into the whole motivational speaking thing, and something that I should have had a slide here, or if I did, I actually set it to hidden, is when I'm saying that you need to be able to talk to people. Not only do you need to be able to talk to people to have a radio show, you need to be able to talk. You need to be able to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk until your mouth is blue. There's a thing called dead air, and the official definition of dead air is 3 or more seconds with nothing going on that is not on purpose. Like if you're doing something for suspense, it's one thing, but if you literally have nothing to say for 3 or more seconds, you've got dead air and you've got to fill it. So being able to come up with something to say before you're going, what's your favorite bologna sandwich? It's very important. You've got to be able to keep on talking about it. Very important here, because we've got our show, The Crabapple Stable. You're listening in to Crabapple Stable here on SoundCloud. Host of BronyCon Audience Participation Productions. That's right. Thanks to our wonderful hosts. What's your name? Thanks to our host, Dave. Dave, the host of Crabapple. You got this thing, and it's ready to go on. You post it up. You record it up. You got yourself right there, T-Bones, on the show for your very first show. You got a guest. You are psyched. You post this thing. You hit enter. It's gone and listens 3. But it's been up for like a week. Why have only 3 people heard about this? I was going around. I was like, I got a Facebook. I got a Twitter. I got business cards that are shaped like fish. I threw 3 bricks through people's windows. I told my grandma about my show at least 5 times. And if I tell her again, she won't remember that I told her the first time. Oh, that's just mean. But you did all this stuff. Why is no one listening to it? You know what? Maybe our show just sucks. We shouldn't do it. And this happens a lot. I see people that'll start a show. They'll start a project. It doesn't take off the direction that they want it to go. And they leave, just like all of Horse News is doing right now. Bye, Horse News. And they drop it. They just let it go. And they don't pick it up again. And they don't think to themselves that when you're promoting something, it builds. Yeah, you got 3 people this week. If you get 5 people next week, how many do you have? Okay, so you got 5 people this week, but you lost 2. How many do you have? Fish? That's the shape of your business card. Okay. But it takes time. You always want to try and reach new people, but if you reach new people, then you get more and more and more. You will lose some along the way. There was a time when I was counting my Twitter followers, and I would like check it every 5 minutes and be like, oh, I lost a Twitter follower, because I was really insecure. But eventually I came to realize that I was generally gaining more people than I was losing. It took a while. Twitter followers is not a way to gauge your popularity. I really should put that out there, first off. A lot of you are about to be really insecure about your Twitter followers. It's not. Right now, I have, on average, 150 to 200 people that listen to my show weekly, which is really cool. But regardless of that number, my Twitter followers go up and down. Mostly because I'll post something on my Twitter, some people won't like it, or I'll post something on my Twitter and someone else will retweet it and it gets popular. Twitter followers is not a good way to gauge it. Yes, Katy Perry has 4 million people on her Twitter. Does that mean she's popular? Bad example. No, but when it comes down to it, your Twitter followers is only based on how good you are at getting other people to like what you say. To an extent, getting people to like what you say is how you get popular and how people follow you. But at the same time, if you are targeting other popular people, regardless of what your audience says, you will get more Twitter followers. You might have 3 people listening to your show, and then you get someone really popular to tweet something that you said, you get a bunch of Twitter followers. The 2 are actually unrelated. Or if they are related, they're only related a little bit. But you have to keep on doing this. And I know that was kind of a tangent there, I'm sorry. But you have to keep on doing this. You've got to keep on trying to hit people up. Okay, so this week I got 5 people. These 5 people are listening to my show, right? You all are my target audience. First week, I've got 5. Next week, I got an extra 1. Next week, no one extra listened to my show. See, the whole row is empty here. Then that guy did, then these people did. It adds up. People will listen to your show, and if you work to try and reach new people, you will reach new people. You will get people that listen to you, but you can't give up. You can't look at your show and be like, no one likes this, I'm going to give up on it. Because if you give up on it, no one's going to listen to your show anymore. There's no show to listen to, so you got to keep on doing it. It's really funny. Most of the comedians in the country, if you ask them how they started, they say that they started in very small bars. Sometimes they would be having an audience of 1 or 2, or maybe they might have an empty house, but they keep doing it because you have to keep doing it. You have to keep telling yourself, I am important. My podcast, Crabapple Stable, is the best show that I can produce. You don't have to say it's the best show out there. You don't have to say that it's going to be more popular than the most popular thing, though telling yourself that really helps. I used to tell myself True Equestrian Radio, because True Equestrian Radio started out as a parody of a podcast. I started as a parody of True Capitalist Radio. And True Capitalist Radio at the time, come on, tell me the time. True Capitalist Radio at the time was very, very popular. It had like lots and lots of listeners. They were being funded just from ad revenue, and they were doing the whole $99 3-hour show on Blog Talk Radio. I said, I want to be more popular than them. And True Capitalist Radio went off the air. And I said to myself, I could be more popular than them eventually. I'm not there yet. I've been doing this for 3-4 years now. True Equestrian Radio has been going on. It's become its own thing. We're not really a parody of True Capitalist anymore. We got a lot of we took a lot of the listeners. They came over to start listening to my show. I'm not there, but I keep telling myself, one of these days I'm going to have 463 episodes, which is one more than True Capitalist Radio. And that day is going to be really, really cool. Right now I'm at like 115, so I got some time to go. You can't give up. So I got a Q&A here because I got about 20 minutes left here before you guys got to get out of here. I know that some of you are really interested in doing shows. Before I get to the Q&A, the one thing I want to tell you is it's hard. It's hard work. It's not going to be super easy. You might catch a lucky break. But the only way to fail at promoting a Perfect Pony podcast or any kind of podcast, the only way to fail and guarantee that you're going to fail is if you give up. And I want you guys to realize that. So I got some questions here. Right down back there in the back. What's your question? True Capitalist Radio was Ghost. That was the, I got bronies calling into my show. Why are they gonna call into my show, those guys? So yeah, I'm the one that was doing it with the sea ponies and saying, that I love Rainbow Dash and I hate sea ponies. And then of course one of my fans decides to send me a sea pony Rainbow Dash. I got this in the mail from one of my fans who is now actually a producer on the show now. But I got this I just got a package with his name on it, and I texted him. I'm like, hey dude, I just got a package with your name. Did you accidentally put my address on something? He goes, no, Toast, open it. I'm like, why? And he goes, videotape yourself opening it. I'm like, all right. So I did, and I opened it, and I popped the thing open, and I see the mane, and I'm like, oh, he sent me a Rainbow Dash plushie. That's so cool. I took it out, and I like it. Really? And so I sit it there. It sits on my desk now. But that's why I don't even remember how I got over there now. I completely the conversation my whole tangent went over there. What was I talking about again? I was talking about Ghost, right? Okay, yeah. So that was Ghost's thing, and I parodied his thing. And now we kind of talk about ponies all the time. Now that the series is on hiatus, we're talking about Doctor Who and Game of Thrones and all kinds of other stuff too. You all should tune into this, by the way. I'll talk about that at the end. Okay, question over here. That depends. It depends on what you're talking about content. My show goes out once a week, but I'm on my Twitter every day. In general, a person who is considered active on Twitter, they post 2 to 3 things at least a day. I think I post about 20, but only about 1 or 2 of them are actually worth reading. I might be a thing like, oh, I can't wait for True Equestria Radio this Saturday. I hope people tune in. And then the other one's like, I just got a burger. Hashtag yum. I don't know why people follow me on Twitter. I'll be completely honest. I'm really boring. Makes a show 5 days a week. I mean, if you can do that and you want to do that, sure. And he'll probably get more people listening to him that way. You don't want to burn yourself out. I mean, if he does it as a full-time job, if he has the means and he has the motivation to do it, I'm totally cool with that. Me, I know with my job and the stuff that I do, it would be really difficult for me to do my show more than once a week, though I've tried. I actually did try and do it Wednesdays and Saturdays, and it didn't work. I ran out of material. Like, there are only so many pony puns. I don't know if you know this, just like there's only so many jokes you can make about hooves. What else we got? Oh, you got one right here. Equipment is a really good thing to look at. I would say when it comes to equipment, you want to have you want to have a computer that's able to actually connect to the internet. This is important. Actually, the little tangent on that, if you'll forgive another tangent of mine, is that I used to record little newscasts, and I didn't have internet, so they sat on my computer, and I wasn't showing them to anybody unless I had someone over, and I'm like, hey, you should come look at this thing that I made. I've got 20 of them. Come back. And you do have to be able to distribute it, first off. Second off, you need a microphone if you're doing anything, even if you're not doing primarily audio. Like if you're doing, let's say you're doing music mixing and you do like a DJ mix as a podcast, you still need a microphone because you need to break it up with, you're listening in to Mix Crabapple Stable, yeah. I'm DJ Crabapple, yeah. Or whatever kind of thing. You have to have a microphone. Your microphone should not be like a $5 one you got from Five Below. It should be something that you have put a little bit of money into. I saw you like face palm right there. Do you have a Five Below microphone? Oh, okay. I thought it was like this. I thought it was like, you can't have a thing from Five Below. I knew I should have done something with that. But if you go out and you spring for even a basic microphone, Best Buy has some good ones for like $20, $25. Have a microphone that is at least has some kind of quality. It shouldn't have a little hum in the back. It should be something that's not going to break in 5 seconds. For me, because of the fact that I do so many podcasts, the equipment that I have is a Blue Snowball, and a lot of people have Snowball microphones because they're very budget friendly. There's 3 kinds of microphones you're going to find. One is a dynamic microphone, which is they're your cheaper kind. They don't need external power to them. They're your basic microphones. You've got condenser microphones. They need power to them. They are very easy to use. They can be a little bit more expensive, but they're far more clear when it comes to any kind of recording that you're doing. You've got ribbon microphones, which are really expensive and really clear. They're great. I'd love to have one of those. But I have what's that? They're not cheap. I think the cheapest ribbon microphone I have ever seen was $299. And the person that was at Guitar Center said, "Don't buy that. That's a piece of crap ribbon microphone." But I have a Blue Snowball. I also have an AKG Perception 220, which I don't use as often for podcasting. I use it more for my vocal recording. The Blue Snowball works fine. I don't even have a pop filter for it. I sit it on my desk. I do my thing. I yell. I scream. I chuck around my Rainbow Dash Sea Pony plushie here, and I have a grand old time. You need headphones is the other thing. Most people think that you can just use your speakers if you're doing it. You really shouldn't, because then you're not going to be getting the absolute best experience of what you're hearing, blocking out the rest of the room noise. Have headphones. Even if you're using earbuds, if you have to, I would suggest getting something that covers your ears, but have headphones. And basic audio treatment, really great way to do audio treatment is put your back to a stack of clothes, or if you have a closet with your clothes hanging. It absorbs a lot of sound. Don't try and do your thing in your bathroom unless you have a treated bathroom. Anybody here familiar with Honest Trailers? Yeah? Okay. The guy that does that is John Bailey. He also does the intro to True Equestria Radio. John Bailey does all of his recording in his bathroom, but he has a fully audio-treated bathroom. So, I've seen this thing, and he's sitting, the toilet's closed, and he's just sitting on it, and the tile walls are covered in foam. And it works for him, but don't try and do that with an empty bathroom where everything's going to go. You're listening to Crabapple Radio, live from my toilet. It's not going to work very well. Any other questions here I got for you? I hope that answered your question at least. I know I kind of went on a tangent. Cool. And I got one right here. $20 lady. Not to say that you're, never mind, I'm not even going to go there. What? Man. God. Yeah, what's up? A podcast that's just random sounds? I mean, I can't think of one. And I think Crabapple Tree Stable. No, I think the biggest thing with it is that you do want to keep people's attention. The reason why the dead air thing is 2 or 3 seconds is the rule, and I mean it's kind of flexible depending on what you're doing, but it's because if people are not entertained, they're going to change it. It's why you should always have a structure. That primer that I had, it tells what's going to go on in the show, so that if I start feeling like there's dead air, I can start pushing it, maybe grab onto the next subject and try and stretch out the next subject. It's a skill to try and stretch it out. But the problem with a show that just sounds like that is, I don't know if that would be something that somebody would want to listen to for an extended amount of time. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Man, like I turned them down as a guest for being podcasters, and you're a podcaster too. Man, I've just got like the best guessing here. Yeah, guests can't make it. That happens. I've had it happen. I've had it happen. So you're saying if you have a guest that at the very last minute, this guy over here with the scarf, who is my big VIP guest over here, just decides he's like, I can't, not decides, but he's like, I can't make it. What do? Like, how do you fill that time? Always have a backup plan. Every show that I've had with a VIP, I have had a backup show ready to go in case they weren't able to make it or they had to leave after 10 minutes or whatever. And most of the time, the easiest thing with it is if you do that, and then they make it, your backup plan becomes your next show. You're like, oh, cool, I know what I'm going to do next show. I'm going to talk about kumquats. Yeah. So glad that my guest got here. But always have a backup plan. Always.
I know like this voice actor that would like do YouTube videos, and the thing he would surround the area where his computer is with foam walls. That may get like completely echo.
The reason why you have audio foam is because things that are smooth and flat, they reflect sound, and it gets picked up by your microphone. It causes a thing, it's called phasing or phaser sound. It's just the sound of reflection that's hitting the microphone more than once. The audio foam is made so that it absorbs the sound, so that if you're in a box that is treated with audio treatment, you won't have any echo, and your sound is going to be very clear. And it means that you can do effects with it, you can add stuff to it. It's just getting the absolute clearest sound. So doing with a YouTube video, even if you're doing a YouTube video, if you want to do that audio treatment and you're able to fit it into your show and have it be your thing, cool. It means those YouTube videos are probably going to have really, really clear sound to them. Voice actors have very treated studios with padding and foam. So that's totally cool. It's totally cool. Soundproofing for cheap? Yes. I showed you a picture of my studio there. A lot of that is quilts. I use that. You can get audio treatment that's kind of expensive, but also carpet. You can go and get a carpet from Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and put that onto your walls. It helps absorb it. There's a great show. It's called East West Audio Body Shop. If you guys have not had the chance to listen to it, it is a video podcast that is done by 2 guys. One's in New York and one's in California. The guy in California is the person who set up Tara Strong's home studio. And he interviewed her, and it's a really great interview. But they talk about a home studio. They talk about all your options on microphones and programs and foam and all kinds of stuff. And a lot of it is very budget-friendly, actually. The cheapest way to do audio treatment is to fill your closet with hanging clothes and put your microphone so that that is at your back. and then put something cloth at your front, because a lot of the time phaser comes from the front. But investing in some foam or some padding or whatever, or if you really wanted to spring for a vocal booth to get the absolute clearest sound, it does help. Professional studios, there's a thing called a noise floor. Noise floor is how loud your studio is when there's no voice coming out of your mouth. And in most professional studios, that noise floor is -60, -70 decibels. Your average room is about -20. A dynamic microphone could sometimes pick up static that's at like -15. So having a good clear microphone helps with that. My studio is at -59, and I'm so proud of that -59. I could probably knock it down a couple more decibels if I was to put up like a better curtain or put up more audio treatment. There's super cheap ways to do it, though. The best way, Google cheap audio treatment, and sometimes people can find it. Couch cushions, too. Couch cushions work very well. Oh, I'm sorry. This guy was first, really quick. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. F4V is fantastic for YouTube. Yes, yeah. If you're doing video, just to reiterate what he said, if you're doing video, if you convert it to F4V, it uploads to YouTube better, and it takes a lot less time and a lot less space, especially because you are converting it to the format that YouTube uses. So it's fantastic. Sure. I would say gallstones would be probably a little bit far. Having too much personality, it depends on your show. If you have a very professional show, like you're trying to cover a very I don't want to say professional show, but I want to say like let's say that I got about 5 minutes here. Let's say that you're covering a legal topic and you're talking to lawyers, you're talking to doctors, you're talking to somebody that's considered a professional thing. You have a show that's very informative. It's probably better to have a little bit more of a clean, talking on topic thing. If you have a kind of an off the wall show like mine, where I talk about ponies and I yell about sea ponies and all kinds of other stuff like that, I can get away with it to some extent. But even me, I'm careful with what I say. I don't want to go out there and say really terrible things. Try and be yourself. Absolutely. Having things out there that represent you is great. Best thing, 10, 20% of it be your personality, your off the wall. Everything else, be on topic, be clear, be something that people want to follow. So like every 5 or 6 photos that you post of you working and doing, maybe you're in front of a microphone or you're working with a camera. Hey, look, this is me. I'm setting up my new audio treatment that I got from East West Audio Body Shop's recommendation. Then you got one that's like, hey, I'm out with friends at a bar, and you just do a picture of you and your friends. Being professional and having a good reputation and having a personality are not mutually exclusive. One for you, sir. Good studio. One, you want to have a studio that is quiet when you start. If you have neighbors that make a lot of noise or kids that turn the TV on or whatever kind of thing, you've got to get somewhere quiet first. Once you're quiet, you want to have something that is relatively cool. You don't want to have it too hot. You don't want to be sweating all over the place. Having a cool environment, having it humid is good because it's good for your voice. If you have a dry environment and you start to talk like this about halfway through your show, you always want to be comfortable. If you are comfortable in an environment that is like hot as blazes, then go for it. But I wouldn't recommend it. For me, I totally do my show in like pajama shorts and no shirt. And that's an image that none of you needed. But that's how I do my show because I'm really comfortable that way. In the summer, I'll usually take like a cold towel and put it around my head because not only does that up the humidity a little bit, it cools me off and it makes me more comfortable so I can do a whole 2-hour show without completely flipping my lid and going, oh, it's so hot in here. Save me, everybody. I probably got time for 1, maybe 2 more questions here really quick. I'm going to get from this guy right here, and I'm going to go there. And if I have time, I'm going to go over there. You should always be able to communicate with your fans in some way. If it's by Twitter, if it's by whatever, you should always be able to do that because that gives you your lifeline to know how people actually think about you. That is super important. I do a live call-in show where people call in to tell me how much they hate me all day long. It's great. But if that doesn't work for you, then that doesn't really work for you so much. I would say have at least something, whether it's by Twitter and you're like, hey, I'm going to read some of the tweets that I've gotten today here. At PonyToast is fat. Yeah, thanks, guys. At PonyToast. See Pony Rainbow Dash, lol. But yeah, always have a lifeline. Absolutely. You, sir. You could, but you want to be consistent. So if people see it, if the first person tunes into your show and it's live and the next 3 are recorded, you might lose interest. Some people prefer live shows, some people prefer recorded shows, and that it works. Being consistent, whether it's in your branding, which I never got to talk about that a little bit, and if you want to talk to me afterwards, I'll totally do it. Be consistent in your show. If a person listens to your show on week 10 and listens to your show on week 20, bless you, whoever sneezed over there, on week 20, you should have the same expectation on your show. There was somebody over here really quick before I get to you. Somebody over here with a question? No? All right, let me get to you. What's up? Do I want to build a snowman? No. I ride my bike around the halls. I got 2 minutes before BronyCon kicks me out of here. All right, so I got 2 minutes left. Let me see if I can get one more question. Afternoon, evening. If you are on the East Coast, I would suggest doing your show 10, 11, or 12, because that means the people on the West Coast it'll be the evening, usually after work, especially working with voice actors who are often doing their stuff during the day. If you are on the West Coast, do it the other way around. So do your show at 7, 8, 9, so that it ends up being 10, 11, 12 on the West Coast. That's the best time for most people. Try to do it, if you can do it on weekends, but sometimes doing it on weekdays can be an advantage depending on people's schedules. So, and also it depends on your audience too. If you have a more kid-friendly show, then maybe you want to do it earlier. If you have a more I want to say after dark or adult kind of show, you probably want to have it later on at night so that your parents can listen to it after the kids go to bed. So that's a bit for me. I want to thank you, BronyCon. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at PonyToast. If you have any other questions for me, I'm going to be around. I'm going to be stepping outside here, and you guys can talk to me and all kinds of stuff. Make sure to listen to my show, True Equestria Radio, Saturday nights at 11:59 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio at blogtalkradio.com/ponytoast or at ter.audiotoaster.co. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. You guys are fantastic. Love you. Bye!